All right. Hi, everybody. Excited to have you start by. Hope you're enjoying the XDC RWAi AI Dev Sprint. Today, we have Titus from Civic joining us, and pretty excited what they're going to be covering. We're going to cover a couple topics and then go into a little bit of like a coding example to kind of help you all get started using Civic. Titus, if you want to go ahead and intro yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Austin, for having us. We're super excited to support the builders in the XDC community. I run go-to-market for Civic. We're going to have our CTO join for the later part of the conversation as well to show you some of the underlying code of how auth works, even though I could probably implement it as well, given how easy it is to actually deploy Civic Auth in production. But more about that in a few minutes. So I'm here to talk about who we are, what we do, and talk about the fact that we have essentially some bounties out there for you if you choose to implement Civic Auth into your XDC submission. Then you become eligible for the Civic bounties as well. So without further ado, I want to kick off the presentation and walk you through a few things. It's going to be a few minutes about us. I promise I won't bore you. So yeah, let's kick off the slides, Austin.
All right.
All right. So as I mentioned, we're offering a bounty of 1,500 in total. I'll share more about the structure of that later. But first, I think I want to kick it off with a quick agenda. So about us, about the bounty, and then I'll hand it off to Daniel, our CTO, who's on the line as well, who will walk you through a hands-on coding session integrating Civic Auth, and then we can also take questions. Now, Civic, we've been around for 10 years now in the block crypto space. We started off as an identity-focused company, on-chain identity. We added authentication as almost like a means to bridge the Web2 and Web3 worlds, because I think the idea is we realized that is the number of people that want to learn about a private key, I think, is maxed out right now. We're all in the Web3 space. I think if we want to build the next billion users in the crypto, we need to make it easier for them to sign in and sign up and get a wallet without having to understand what a private key is and a seed phrase and whatnot. So right now, our focus is on connecting, helping builders connect with their users, verifying them, and proving that it's them every time. We've been around, as I said, for a while. We've been working with ecosystem leaders across multiple chains and ecosystems. So not just EVM, but also Solana. So if you're building cross-chain or chain agnostic, then this might actually be a great solution for you from that perspective as well. So I think I mentioned this at the beginning. We started off as an identity product. That's the Civic Pass product. Civic Auth is the authentication product. I'm going to talk about both in a little bit. But essentially, the main takeaway is we believe that authentication and access control should be fast, flexible, and privacy preserving. And you shouldn't be spending months on integrating either of the two, right? And that's why we built these two solutions and SDKs. With Auth, the goal is to make it simple, frictionless, giving users the flexibility to sign in however they want with the SSO of their choice, and essentially help you move on to building your experience in your terms. And by the way, with that comes a Web3 enabled wallet, works in EVM environments with WAGMI. Daniel will talk more about that, our CTO, on how that actually works and how you can call those wallet functions after you've deployed. So the goal there is to help you have better conversions, faster onboarding, more time to focus on the actual product. With Civic Pass, we go a step further, even though the product is older. It's focused on defining who gets access to your application based on verifiable credentials, things like age, location, proof of personhood, government-issued IDs, in a privacy-preserving way on-chain. So essentially, once you issue a pass, then you can verify through your smart contract that, hey, is this pass still active for this individual? So, for example, if you want to fight bots, you want to issue passes that prove humanity. So like a liveness biometrics check or a CAPTCHA, or if you want to ensure there's no civil attacks to your community, then you can issue a uniqueness pass, which enforces one person, one wallet for your application, or it could be for the entire ecosystem if you choose to use the public network. That both tools are low-code integration. We focused on building versatile libraries, easy to install, very familiar environments, mostly JavaScript. And yeah, it's all to give you a quick, secure way to onboard users in a way that fits your app to your needs. So as you can see, we're very dev focused. So I'll dive into Civic Pass and how it works a little bit before diving into Auth. So as I said, it's privacy preserving, it's easy to integrate. It's also enterprise ready if you need that kind of stuff. We have API endpoints and dedicated teams to help you build. It's audited, so all that stuff is comes with the package, as they say. I won't dwell too much on this right now. We've issued over 1.1 million, so I think the numbers speak for themselves. It's a tried and tested solution right now. There's a few 100,000 people that are verified, unique people that are verified across several chains. And then, yeah, people have been using it for like liveness and CAPTCHA and uniqueness and ID verification and other custom use cases across multiple networks. Basically, all passes work across all the chains that we are compatible with. If we are not compatible with a chain, we can also become compatible with that chain. In this case, XDC is one of the early ones that we've integrated with. Love the community, love the vibes. Hope we can see more of you guys building and integrating Civic Pass and also Civic Auth into the works. As you can see, it's like pretty straightforward from code to UI. It's essentially a unified interface that pops up. You don't have to build the UI yourself for the verification. So I think that helps skip some iteration cycles, essentially making it as developer friendly as possible from that perspective, while also like maintaining a user experience that helps people go through the process quickly and painlessly, because that's also very important. Like, you don't want to lose people when they're getting verified. So a few use case examples for Pass, gaming, GameFi. So essentially this is the let's keep the game fair use case, where you prevent cheaters from accessing the game with multiple wallets, for example, or multiple accounts by enforcing a biometrics uniqueness, or just by blocking bots if you want. Again, on-chain programmatically, so that even if they find your smart contract access, they still can't access it if it's gated. The functions are gated with Civic Pass. DeFi, if you want to gate your service with ID verification, ban, for example, sanctioned countries, sanctioned individuals, this is a good way to bring those rules on-chain to be used in smart contracts for like an RWAi scenario. That's one of the use cases we've heard more often, is people wanting to make sure that the RWA, like tokens, fractional shares, don't end up in a country that's not supposed to be part of their community or their ecosystem. Communities and DAOs, there's more around preventing fraud, Sybil attacks, spam, voting fraud, bot manipulation, so all that stuff by verifying members. I mentioned RWA, it's almost like a subset of DeFi from that perspective. But yeah, if you want to build a robust system that permissions the token only to specific criteria, there are like zero knowledge proofs of I am not from country X or Y. This is a good way to do it. And we think like this is a smart contract development tool ultimately, with a backend and front-end library as well to help you build a full stack application on-chain easily. It can work for any kind of gating that you're trying to do. We have custom passes where you can define your own rules. So issue passes via API calls, really, really straightforward. And then last but not least, this is one of my favorite use cases. I hope to see it one day, is when the Web3 wallet infrastructure prevents draining by running a uniqueness check over a transaction value to make sure that I'm still the same person that should own that wallet, if that multi-factor is in place. No more draining, guys. I think it's doable. We should be able to do it. All right, so enough about that. Let's stick to let's move on to the main topic of the day, Civic Auth. So as I mentioned earlier, this is like passwordless auth, which we promise you can deploy in under 5 minutes. It's one SDK. that deploys with just a few lines of code. You don't need a ton of coding background to do it. There's no like overbearing backend responsibility requirements to do it. It allows you to connect with your users using email, Google, and in the future it'll be passkeys. Bring your own wallet. And now we have also Discord and GitHub and Facebook as authentication methods, and X, of course. And it comes with embedded wallets. So if you choose that the Web3 SDK, then you can issue Web3 wallets for your users. Make sure to select the XDC network that you're issuing the wallets on. And when you're operating on that network, explicitly call it out. And yeah, that should set you up to onboard your first users in a seamless way. We are agnostic here as well, right? We support, I think, all EVMs from that perspective with this particular tool. And then we also support Solana. We're continuously building on our SSO options. So as I mentioned, we have Google, Facebook, X, Discord, and GitHub right now live. We're expecting to bring email live in the next few weeks, and then bring your own wallet will be next. And as you can see here, phone number as well. Takes 5 minutes to integrate. It takes me longer to make coffee at my complex manual espresso machine at home. So you can do it faster than I can make coffee. And it's really framework flexible, right? It's available on React, Next, Node, and then it supports also other OIDC, OAuth compatible environments through an API. So we built this with you guys in mind and making sure like you can build in whatever environment you want. We also have a React Native integration in the works for those building on mobile, which will go live again pretty soon. So as I said, deploy in under 5 minutes. How it works, you need to get your client ID from auth.civic.com. You need to install that in NPM if you're developing a Node environment. And then you want to wrap your app inside of Civic Auth provider. And then we'll show more around that in his section. Okay. So essentially everything lives on docs.civic.com. In this case, docs.civic.com/auth is the way to go for the auth documentation. If you have any questions, always reach out to us. We're available on Discord. We're available through X. Like, let us know if you run into any issues. And now to talk about the bounties. So we're offering a total of $1,500. First place will get $750, second $500, and then third place will get $250. Essentially, you just need to integrate Civic Auth into your application, make sure it works, make sure it is the main way people onboard into your application, and record a short demo explaining how it works. And that post it on your favorite platform of choice, send it to us, both ideally, and we will evaluate on functionality, creativity, user experience, and presentation of the application that you built. So I hope that's pretty straightforward. This is also available on the program website, the program page towards the bottom where the bounties are. Everything is super transparent from our end. Like, we want to make sure you understand, like, if you're integrating auth, you're qualifying for these things, which will be evaluated in these ways. Cool. Now, I know I went through a lot, so if there are any questions, looks like not yet. If not, then I will hand it off to Daniel Kelleher, our CTO, who will do a quick live coding session. Hey, Dan.
I will. Hi, thanks, Titus. How are you doing, everyone? Now, just up front, so that you know, I find myself in a public place today, so the audio quality might not be as good as it was for Titus, but I hope you can still hear me okay. And we'll see how it goes. It might get noisy, it might get quiet, but hopefully you'll get the message through the code. And on that subject, I will start sharing my screen and we can get started. Right, so we're going to be building Civic Auth, and because it's 2025, and I'm a generalist on component of AI-assisted coding, we're going to be leaving it up to Claude Code, the AI assistant from Anthropic, for quite a lot of the actual heavy lifting here. So that'll give me a chance to talk through it at the same time. But don't worry, it is even if you do it by hand, it is less than 15 minutes to integrate. There's very clear documentation. I hope it's very clear. You can feel free to give feedback on it. There's very clear steps in docs.civic.com to go through. But it's fun. It's fun to use AI assistants anyway these days. So we're going to give it a go, see how it does. A very good idea when doing live coding, and indeed when working with an AI agent, is to have a plan up front. So I've set up a little plan here that I want to talk you through before I get started. So here's what we're going to try and build in the next, I guess, half an hour or so. I want to build a little demo web app for the XDC chain, showing how Civic can provide a simple, flexible, and secure Web3 wallet solution for the XDC community. So we're going to build a web app that allows people to log in via something like Google or some other SSO, obtain a wallet, which will actually happen automatically, and then check their XDC balance, and then send or receive XDC. That's what we're aiming for. We're going to be using Next.js as the main tech stack with Civic Auth, and we're going to be using WAGMI as Titus mentioned. You don't have to use WAGMI. It's just a very neat way of interacting with EVM chains like XDC from a React app, and it has a very nice integration with Civic Auth. So I'm going to point Claude at this plan. I've done the first step already just to save a little time. I've got a dummy Next.js app. It currently looks like this, which is what you get when you create like when you use like kind of the templating tools in Next.js to create a simple app out of the box. And I just want to do that up front to avoid having to wait for all the dependencies to download. So let's get going. I'm going to say, hi, Claude. Please implement plan. Stopping. Yeah, I don't need to tell it to stop because we're not going to vibe this. We're going to check what it's doing. So what I'm hoping that it will do will pick up the fact that Civic Docs give you very clear instructions on this step here. If you go to docs.civic.com/auth and then navigate to the Next.js integration if you're using Next.js. Okay, it's going to do a bit of searching. But I'm going to actually tell it to use save it a bit of time, get it captured up to where I am already. And what it will do will just go through these 4 steps. The first thing is it's going to add the Civic Auth plugin. Now, in this Civic Auth plugin, what you need, the plugin goes into your Next config, and what you need is a client ID. So while it's going through reading the docs, I'm going to show you how to get that client ID. I think Titus already gave it away. Basically, you need to go to auth.civic.com and log in. So here's auth.civic.com, and getting a client ID is very fast. I've already got one, so it will be slightly different for you, like looking in for the first time. But if I log in as myself for a moment. Okay. So let me just jump back to Claude because Claude is ready to go, and Claude wants to add Civic Auth Web3, WAGMI, Translate React Query, and DM. Yes, that's correct. So I'll let it carry on do that. Okay, so let me just jump back to here. What you will see if you've never logged in before, you will be taken straight to this step. Now, anyone who's watching can do this yourselves. Or you see, all you did was log in, and it creates an app for you in the background. So all you need to do is copy this client ID. This is not a secret. This is secure, and basically it doesn't matter that I'm showing you this right here. You can't steal it from me, essentially. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it into an environment variable. So I'm going to just do that and then put it in here like this. Okay, so that's there. You can also put it in line in code, like it's showing in this snippet here, but it's neater to put it in. just noticed that we using Yarn here instead. So I'm going to let it do that instead. Right. So that's, you can also see the steps we're going to go through by clicking here. Dot.
We might have lost Daniel. If that is the case, I know we have a recording of this that we can point you all toward. Sorry, Titus, that throw you up on screen without a warning.
Yeah, no
But,
worries. I was trying to ping Daniel. I think his internet connection isn't great.
Yeah, I think it dropped out. But we do have a recording covering this that we'll post for everybody to be able to watch, so that you can still have a pre-recorded version of that particular tutorial that you can reference if you're going for this bounty, because that's definitely a valuable resource to have, and we want to make sure you all have it.
And I also want to share one more thing that wasn't in my original deck, that you are not alone. People are already building with Auth, and they are excited. We're not just like pulling the 5 minutes out there as a marketing play. This actually works in the way we're describing. People are onboarding users with the help of Civic Auth today. So we definitely want you to like review the live coding session. I think Dan's back. We can try maybe one more time, Austin.
Yeah.
See if his connection is better.
Let's see if it holds up.
Hey Dan, can you hear us now?
Hey, I'm very sorry about that. What happened there was
Living the traveling life.
Coding away. I was coding away, and then I thought, I'd better check that people can actually still hear me. And then I saw I was disconnected, and I have no idea how much you missed, or whether you heard anything at all. How long have you been waiting for you to come back?
I think you put in you took the ID, you put that into the env, and at that point we kind of lost you.
Okay. So it could have been worse. I'm very sorry, everyone. I'm happy. I don't want to interrupt you, Titus, but I'm happy to continue.
Oh, please continue. I was just kind of filling in
definitely.
while we're trying to get you back.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll give it another go. Thank you for your patience. I've moved slightly in the meantime while frantically pressing refresh. So I'm hoping that I'm in a slightly better place. We'll find out soon. All right.
Okay,
share my screen.
All right.
Share my screen, and this is where we left. So I have my client ID in here. Now, you should be able
Give
to
me
see
a
my
second to
screen.
get
Yes,
us all kind of sorted and queued up here.
Okay. How is it looking? I think there's a bit of a delay. I'm going to carry on. So you can see this.
It's looking good so far.
Okay. We'll see how we go. Right. So Claude has correctly done the first step in the integration while we were away, in that or at least it's proposed it. I'm going to make a slight change to this proposal. It's correctly, diligently taken it out of our docs, but because I've put the key in an environment variable, I can tell it to do that. So one thing that is interesting, it's not really related, but Claude can't see this environment variable because it's in a hidden file, but I can still tell it to use it. That's good, but use the end var. Okay, so a quick note, we use something called PKCE, which basically means you have an extra level of security, and that's what allows me to be confident about sharing this client ID with you here. Now we've got the config set up. The next thing that we want to do is add this handler root. So it's going to try and do that now. You can see that. It will then add this handler root, and this basically handles all your logins, your logouts in your backend. So that's a very easy step. The SDK kind of handles all right. There we go, that's that step. So you'll see now I've got inside here. Actually, it's created the wrong folder there, but I'm just going to delete that. There we go. Okay, so you've seen this, we've got this route now. That's all we need. All the SDK, if we're using the SDK, will route all login and log out requests to this route. You don't have to think about it really. Next, we have middleware. Now, middleware basically allows you to protect any other backend routes you have, any protected resources with Civic Auth. Now, what goes inside this matcher will depend on your app. Right now, this is a kind of a helpful default, but this is something where you might need to configure it. And if you're doing a Web3 app, chances are, I mean, you may not need this step at all. It's there for more kind of traditional apps, but typically these days, people have. I'm just checking you can still hear me and see me. Typically, people have backend resources that they want to protect. Next up, we have adding the front end. So that's just a simple context wrapper in your app. Usually goes in the root layout, doesn't have to go in the root layout. It depends. It depends what your app looks like, but typically it goes in the root layout. And it's simple as just adding that auth provider. Claude has figured out where to put it. Okay, so we've effectively set up Civic Auth. That's all you need. Right now, there's still no, there should be no change to the app itself, right? It still looks like this. Eventually, Claude will get around to adding a login button. I might actually do this. It's running ahead with WAGMI, which is a good next step. But just so we've got something interesting to look at, I'm going to say, that's good, but add the login button first, use user button. I'm giving it a bit of a hint here, because sometimes it like login button, Civic has a out of the box one that you don't have to use, but it's a very convenient way to add this kind of sign in and user information button to your app. So I'm going to ask it to do that, and then I can kind of show the login process while it's doing the WAGMI integration. Now, were it not for the fact that we're going further, we're doing this entire Web3 plan, and were it not for the fact that I was interrupted in the middle by bad internet, we would be finished. Essentially, Civic is now integrated, and your app is protected by Civic. We're going to go further, and we're going to add cool Web3 stuff. But it's one of the things that we're really aiming to get right is the speed at which you can have security in your app. So kind of consider that a cutoff point. If we were committing code, we'd be committing getting that into a PR, and now we're moving on. So let me just see if what it's done. Has it added the? Okay, it has to probably restart because it's struggling to find the middleware. Maybe it's put in the wrong place. Yeah, it's in the right place. Let me see where it's not finding the middleware. I'm sure it will tell me once I restart the app. Okay, good. So we've got a little rudimentary UI, and we're going to sign in. I'll show this sign in now before I move any further. Shouldn't be much of a surprise because you just saw it in the dashboard. We eat our own dog food, and then the user's logged in. That's me. That's my name. Good. Let's move on then to the Web3 stuff. So you can see Claude is very eager and is already cracking on again with the next step. This is mostly correct. We can make a couple of slight improvements on it because actually these XDC configs are included in VM, and we support VM. So I'm going to let it cook. I'm going to let it do this, but I'm going to edit it afterwards. So I'll let it create WAGMI, and then while it's doing the next step, I'm going to briefly just remove all of this stuff. And I'm going to import it from VM instead. So if you're using WAGMI in VM, it's very pleasant to build on XDC alongside Civic Auth. Then I don't need this anymore, and isn't that neat? So now we just have to wire that WAGMI config in, and you can see that Claude is ahead of me already. It's doing the next step. We've moved beyond the Next.js integration now. If you're following along on the docs, we're now in this section, Web3, Ethereum, EVM. In this, there's a lot of details of how to use the wallet in various contexts, not just Web3, not just WAGMI, but scroll down and you'll see the WAGMI stuff, and scroll even further and you'll see a full out-of-the-box example. This is using React as opposed to using Next.js, but it's very similar. And it's more or less following that, you can see. So it's adding the things that WAGMI needs, in particular React query and WAGMI itself. Just a quick vibe check to see if I'm still here. I think I'm still here. I'm going to assume I'm still here and keep going. All right. So we've added WAGMI. It's complaining again, probably because we need to actually worry about use client and use server and things like that. Now I'm going to tell it to, actually, well, it's still thinking, but in a moment I'm going to tell it to check that. I believe it needs to make sure that the WAGMI layout uses use client. So I'm going to ask it to pause for a second. This is not really in the docs because this is React only, but people who use Next.js, the latest versions of Next.js, know what this means. Basically, you have to tell it. You have to tell it when certain components are only going to be rendered on the client. Please check that the providers. Check that they move the providers into their own component and use client. Now, actually, I believe only the Civic one doesn't actually need that. It's just the WAGMI ones. It shouldn't matter from the Civic perspective whether there's in a use client component or not. So I'm going to start by just having all of them be in there for neatness. But if I'm wrong and if I've got a mistake in there, then I'll move the Civic one back out to a server-side component. But let's go back to the plan while it's doing that, because we've shot through quite a lot of stuff here. So we've, yep, that's good. So we've configured WAGMI to use XDC and XDC testnet. There is one other step actually that I need to remember to do, and I'll do that now, which is we need to tell Civic to default to using XDC. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say initial chain XDC testnet. Actually just testnet like that, and that's to import it. And that will mean we save a bit of time there because we don't have to tell Civic, okay, now switch to the XDC chain. Right, so it's time to do some UI, and the UI is on its way. That looks reasonable to me. There's a lot of code there, but it's trying to do a lot of stuff at once. Essentially what it's trying to do is, I want to start with use balance. I don't want it to, it looks like it's getting confused with use right contact. I don't want to do that. I just want to use balance. Now we're very much well and truly, by the way, out of Civic Auth world into standard EVM development world. So I think they're very, I'll actually just pause what I was going to say there and advise Claude to just focus on use balance first. And then what I was going to say was, the reason why we decided to integrate Civic Auth like this was basically to make it so that it behaves exactly the same as any other wallet. So it behaves the same as a MetaMask wallet or any other browser extension that you normally use from the point of view of the dApp. So you can create apps that support Civic Auth for browser-based login, or support browser extensions without having to have special cases in your code. They work next to each other. Okay, so I have to probably restart again because it hasn't got the import correct there. So I'm going to tell it what the import should be. So let me just delete that import and then recreate this import here by just checking you're still there first because my internet's gotten a bit weak. Okay, well, normally I would want my IDE to do this. I'm going to just do it myself. So use autoconnect is correct. Import use user is correct from Next.js, and then import user has wallet from that. Okay, so that's exactly how it should be, and that should match now. No, I think that's correct. Let me just jump to the docs. You don't actually need use user here, actually, but it should be importing correctly. I don't know why it's not right now. Okay, I got it slightly wrong. It's React, not Next.js in that case. Actually, I think I've still got that there. Civic Auth Web3. Okay, so don't make that mistake. Make sure you're using Web3. Okay, now everything is building. Let's see how the app looks. Okay, that's nice. So behind the scenes, I'm logged in already, so it just went and got my wallet. Now I already have, apparently I'm rich in testnet XDC, so I've already got lots of it. Yours would say 0, and then you would go to a faucet to populate that wallet. It behaves like any other wallet. So one thing I did want to point out here is some of these things that are in this user has balance, user create wallet. Some of these things can be kind of abstracted away from the UI, and they are things that you need to do once. If you have users that are going through your system the first time, you need to call this create wallet call. But in general, the rest of the time, so for example, let me see, down up here, yeah, exactly. So normally when I'm building apps, I would keep this sort of code separate from this sort of code. You can see this is just standard WAGMI code. So use balance here is just it's just normal, the same as you would use it for if you were connecting via something like Rainbow Kit or Web3 modal or something like that. Same with user count. The thing that adds Civic into the WAGMI config, incidentally, is this one here, embedded wallet, this connector. So if you wanted to add other connectors, you could. Okay. What next? Well, let's continue I'm going to tell it I've done this manually. I've done this. So now we're going to move on with the rest of the plan. I want to check that I can send the transaction to another address. Or rather, send the transaction sending XDC to another address. So that's what it's going to try and do now. Meanwhile, I'm going to just switch over to the app and give it access to my MetaMask, because I can't remember what my MetaMask address is. Okay. I actually have 2 wallets, and it's randomly selected another one now. I have to remove the old one from my account. You can configure, if you have a situation like me where you have multiple wallets, you can configure which one it gains access to, but the refreshing has caused it to switch. I'm going to just go back. Get stuck on that one. That's okay, let's leave it on that one. So what's it doing here? It is doing a lot of stuff, and it's doing it all in wallet view. I don't like that. For simplicity, I'm going to keep that in a separate component. But what I'm hoping it will do is use the WAGMI use transaction hook to allow me to send the transaction to another address. So we're going to use this use send transaction down here. Sorry for the noise, by the way. It's my bad. All right. I'm going to mute for a second while it's running through there, just so you don't hear too much background noise. Okay, so it's added that component. I haven't really looked through it yet. I'm going to look through it really briefly now. I think it's okay. Looks happy. Let's see where we are. Okay, so we've got this little send XDC. let's try it out. This will be fun. So I'm going to, again, copy my wallet address here. I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to send maybe one testnet XDC to it. I think we can afford that. Okay, I think there's an error. I want to identify what the error is. So I want to tell Claude to include this error field here in the use transaction hook to see what's I see there's a build error at least, so probably a few other things going on here. But let me just tell Claude to fix that. Claude, you use the error field in the return value to use send to show what the on-chain error is. Probably also see if there's something in here. Not sure what that is. No, it doesn't seem to be an error on here. Let's just see what comes out of that. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. It's going to get the TX error out of this. Let's come back. Okay, let's go back and try it again. Did it actually display it? Let me just refresh. So I'm going to log out and log back in. I think the perennial refreshing of the page, I think, has maybe caused the connection to the wallet to disconnect. Okay, it's loading the wallet. I haven't got a loading set up for that yet. It's loading the wallet in the background. Yes, it should be. Okay, something in the build has broken the build. I think it could be something like this. I'm going to just okay. I think the problem is something like that. Okay, I'll have to look up the actual documentation, I suppose. So I can't remember exactly what the response value is of this. It's just a hatch itself. So it should be just like that. Okay. Okay. Let's see if that helps. Okay. I actually don't know why I'm not seeing the wallet anymore. That's actually confusing me. I think I'm going to have to look at that a little bit. It seems like adding the wallet, the send transaction, has confused it a little bit. I'm not exactly sure why, but hoping that I can that this view has kind of given you a decent view of how the SDK works. It's a shame I wasn't able to get the send transaction working there at the end. But what I might do now is just look at that a little bit offline. And if I get to it, if we get the time, then I might come back. But otherwise, what I think might be a good idea now is to either answer questions or wrap up, depending on what you guys think, Titus and Austin.
Adding you up, Titus.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to see like the LLMs kind of get 90 or 95% of the things done, and then like you have to do more work to figure out what they did wrong. And like it's always better, just read the documentation, try to understand it as much as you can, and then build.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. Live coding is always a harrowing experience sometimes.
I like it for that reason.
Yeah.
I like it for that reason because it's the best way to debug your application for a start, and it's always more fun and more convincing. But yeah, it raises interesting new challenges. In this case, in particular, finding somewhere quiet was the biggest challenge. But yeah, good fun.
For sure. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. We're getting near the top of the hour, so I'll probably start to let everybody go. But I guess couple of closing things. Yeah, so you guys have a bounty in the dev sprint. Absolutely check that out. Civic's a great product. If you have anything else to say there about going after the bounty, we mentioned it towards the beginning of the call, but I'm sure a couple of people probably joined a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure. So there's $1,500 in total. All you have to do is implement Civic Auth as the method of sign up and log into your application, spin up the XDC wallet in there, and then integrate that into your process. Have a fully kind of functioning demo using that, record it, post it, post it on X, post it on your favorite social network of choice, tag us. Definitely, we love to see these live demos with Civic Auth working in production or, well, development environments, wherever you're comfortable with. We've seen people deploy on localhost. We've seen people deploy on like private Vercels. Like there's multiple ways that this will work. And if it doesn't, let us know what you're using and how you're using it to fix it. But definitely flexible when it comes to the way you guys are deploying. Just build what you think is best to help you win the overall event, and add Civic Auth to the mix to be eligible for the 3 prizes that we're offering.
Okay, fantastic. And if anybody had a question that they were posting, Twitter Spaces is being its typical temperamental self. So just feel free, if you're in the RWAi AI dev sprint, to post those questions in the Telegram group and ping an admin, and we'll make sure that your question finds its way to the right person and can get answered. But other than that, thank you so much, Titus and Daniel, for coming out. Everybody, hope your idea is coming along well. And yeah, any questions, just ping an admin in the Telegram chat. All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Austin. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. You guys have a great one.
Have a good one.